Yes, we were sharing and we were looking at Peter walking on water and where he got his strength to tell Jesus, bid me come to you. And that's what we were sharing at. So, just in scripture here, I want to quote Brother Branham in the message, The Resurrection of Jairus' daughter. Brother Branham says, Peter asked him one night, said, if it be you, bid me come to you on the water. And Jesus said, come. That's all Peter had to hear. Come. He jumped out of the boat and started running to meet him. And even on his road, when fear came, he saw the big waves, big white caps bursting probably as high as this building. He got scared, and as soon as he got scared, see, he got his mind off what Christ said, come. He got scared, he got his eyes on the symptoms, and he began sinking. Now you take this in your heart tonight, that Jesus said, whatsoever things you desire, when you pray, believe you receive them, and then you shall have them. It will be given to you. And he said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. The things that I do shall you do also greater, because I go to my Father. And he did not claim to be the healer, he only claimed to do just as God showed him by vision. Now, that portion of scripture I had left it out because in 29, when he had Jesus call him to come, he came down out of the ship and he walked on the water to go to Jesus. In 13, we see that Peter sees the wind boisterous and he was afraid and he began to sink. Then he cried, saying, Lord, save me. You see, he had the first time when he saw Jesus walking on the water, he cried, it is a spirit. And then Jesus introduces himself, he tells them, it is I, be not afraid. And what happens? Peter wants to have this experience with Jesus. So he tells Jesus, if it is really you, bid me to come. So Jesus tells him, it's okay. You wanted to come? Come. So he invites Peter to come and walk with him on the water. Peter starts walking on water as he's approaching Jesus. I want to believe Jesus was a bit far off, around maybe we can say 20 feet away. So he wanted to give Peter an opportunity to actually walk on water. Now, what happened? As Peter is walking on water, the waves come back. Everything else that he was facing seems he takes his sight off Jesus and he starts looking at his symptoms. He starts looking around. Now, the other personal experience he had as a professional fisherman comes back. What happens when he looks around? He sees the winds and they are so high, they are so mighty. The waters were tormented, and he looks at them because when the storms were coming, they would last for about those waves were so high that they would cover a tall building and cover all of them, so they had to maneuver. Now these waves that came, when he looked on the sides, it was taller. It was a giant to him. In his experience, no one would survive that. And that's where he started losing the grip. He started losing the focus. He looked at himself. He's like, now if I'm to start swimming here, I would need to swim maybe at a rate of, maybe 30 kilometers per hour. But I'm just a man. I can't do that. And he looks at it and he's like, oh, I'm going to die. My personal experience cannot save me right now. But it is not I, but it is Christ in me that does the works. And he cries out, he's like, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus reached out and held his hand and brought him back. And he had a walk with Jesus again on the water. And they went back to the ship, they went back to the boat. Now, what am I trying to bring here? Peter, in his own image, in his own looks, he saw and he thought, if this storm ever came and I was maybe out on the sea, this is how I would maneuver it. His personal experience. He brought it forward, and that's what he used from the time they left the shore where Jesus was until the time Jesus found them in the middle of the Sea of Galilee. He was using his experience. Now, I want you to look at this interaction. From that time they left the shore to the time Jesus comes, they have spent there about 7 hours, or 8 to 7 hours. This interaction with Jesus, it doesn't even last 10 minutes. This conversation with Jesus, it lasts about 5, because he approaches them and they cry out, he hears their cry. He tells them, do not worry, be of good cheer, it is I. And Peter, he doesn't go into, okay, if it is you, do this. If it is you, prove to us. If it is you, they start asking to confirm, we have those questions. If you're not a robot, please select the traffic lights. They didn't go into those authentication factors. No, he had one point. Lord, if it is indeed you, bid me come to you that I may walk on water. And that statement alone, it just 30 seconds and it is done. Now, Peter starts walking on water. I want to believe Jesus gave him a minute of faith of having this. And then the next 1 minute, maybe he looks, and then that's when he starts sinking. Because once you lose the faith, it doesn't happen all of a sudden that, oh, I've woken up and I've lost faith. No, it is gradual. When he started looking at the sea around him, he started sinking. He didn't sink, he started. Now, as he was starting to sink, he has been walking on water. His feet are all dry. There is no water on him. Now he has lost focus. He's no longer looking at Jesus. What happens? He starts to sink. Now his feet become wet. The water reaches the ankles. He's continuing to walk, but the faith is now wavering. He's looking at the storms and they are shaking, and this time around they have come with even thunders and lightning and everything. It's the situation is not good at all. Everything is crashing hard against him. Now the water reaches the knees, and then he remembers, wait a minute. What am I doing on the water? I requested Jesus, if he was the one, to call me. Maybe the water had reached the waist now. The faith had gone too down. And then he calls to Jesus, I'm sinking, save me. And Jesus didn't permit him to go. He held out his hand and pulled him out of the water. And he walked with him on the water to go back to the ship. Look at the statement Jesus makes in verses 31. Verses 31, it says, and immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? Jesus is asking Peter, where did you start doubting from? Was it when you started walking on water? Was it when you saw the circumstances around you? Was it when you thought that I'm no longer here to save you? Was it when you thought you were only walking this path by your own might, by your experience? That's how you're able to walk on water. Where did you start doubting from? What caused that doubt to come in? Because from the very first time you to walk on water, it was not your might, it wasn't any of the knowledge that you've accumulated on the sea. It was my word. It was my word you. And when you accepted my word, what happens? You started walking on water. Peter, you started not because you know how to balance, you nothing. Everything you've done, it is nothing. You started this walk